There we are.
Hello.
Hi, how's it going?
Oh, doing great. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining. I know that you just got off the slopes, huh?
Yeah. Just got home from a morning of training at Park City and just coming back from a little bit of an injury, but excited to be back. And it was an awesome morning. Nice blue skies out there. So thank you for having me on here. Excited to talk to everybody.
Yeah, no, awesome. So, quick introduction. Ryan is a professional skier and biker. He's been on our platform for a few years, one of our most loved content creators, done some awesome stuff. And so really excited to be talking to you about all things Winter Olympics, events, content creation, even NIL. We touched on that before. So let's dive right in. So I suppose firstly, would love to hear a little bit about you and your journey getting to where you are.
Cool. Well, thank you. Yeah, like you said, I am a professional skier mainly, and then I decided during the summers I just wanted another adrenaline sport to keep my brain firing and keep my body in shape. So my dad got me into biking at a really young age, and it kind of just domino effect from there. Just have been skiing on the World Cup and NORAM circuit back and forth since I was about 15 years old. Always trying to fight for that World Cup spot. Being from the U.S., there's such a deep talent pool for them to
Mm.
select from. So it's really just a constant battle of trying to ski your best and be the best athlete you can. And then during the summer times, just switch gears a little bit to keep my brain fresh so that I don't burn out of the skiing. Hop on the bike and go race the clock, go as fast as I can, go down the mountain and try to survive. Keep things exciting and keep things fun. So always nonstop adrenaline sports year round. Even when we're not doing the skiing or biking, we're always cliff jumping, wakeboarding, surfing, doing something exciting.
Awesome.
So it's awesome.
Now, love that. Now, tell me, sponsorship. So, obviously, the whole art of sponsorship is brands that are hopefully aligned to you and vice versa. They get involved and, you produce content for them and whatever else. Tell me, why do you do sponsorship deals and what does it mean to you?
So as in the skiing and biking industry, sponsorship is kind of your way to being a pro, as one would say. So really, until you're paid to do what you love, paid to do the skiing, paid to do the biking, aside from winnings, technically you're not defined as a pro. So that's like everyone's goal as a little 12-year-old kid. You always want to be like a pro athlete for your favorite ski brand or helmets or energy drinks, any of that type of stuff. So that's really the ultimate goal when you're starting out skiing, biking, any of these sports is like having someone support you to do what you love and like really just keep the dream alive. And so that's in terms of the ski and bike world, we're always trying to deal like with the companies and build our own personal brands, be useful to them while also being just a great role model to the community and keeping a positive image. And in terms of the platform like open sponsorship, it's been absolutely perfect to like kind of subsidize those empty spots where I have a helmet company, an outerwear company, energy drink, skis. But obviously that does not even come close to covering all the bases of what's possible in the sponsorship world. So when we're dealing with companies, one of my favorites was Sperry. Um, that's kind of just one of those weird ones that you'd never think the brand Sperry would come in to sponsor a freestyle skier. You think more so country club or guy out on a boat in the
Yeah.
summer, not a skier or a extreme sports athlete. So it's been really awesome. Open sponsorship has been able to connect us with brands that we'd never really have the opportunity to work with in our sports and build more relationships and just it's a really nice way to one, make relationships with new brands, and then two, it's a great little source of income for us on the side. It makes sometimes I've had an open sponsorship deal where it then makes my next competition trip possible because that little bit of
Amazing.
income that I got from it really like kind of is life changing. We wouldn't be able to do it without that type of stuff, and it's been a really nice bonus income on the side of our usual contracted stuff in the ski industry.
Love that. Thank you. Well, I mean, credit goes to you for being, such an awesome ambassador. So let's talk a little bit more about that. I mean, obviously, for you, you can create so much content on the slopes, but you can also create it at home with your girlfriend, who we've already talked about is also a professional athlete. So, what's your preferred kind of content creation? Is it slopes? Is it at home? Talked about that.
I'd say really the content creation depends on really the brand. Um, like Sperry was a unique one because, like I said, it doesn't really align with the skiing, biking world, but they wanted to dive into it and attack a new audience. So, and then I've done other ones where it's a product for your gut health or a product for recovery at home for fitness recovery. So I guess kind of depending on the product is what decides the content creation because we always try to make it authentic to us rather than just standing in front of a camera and holding a
Yeah,
product to the camera because that's kind of the standard one you see with the bigger influencers where it doesn't really matter what they do because their brand is their brand no matter what and they don't really have to worry about keeping it authentic. But for us we really try to just keep it kind of we try to avoid the cringe. That's our that's always our joke. It was like if we post this, like how many of our friends are going to cringe or how many of the people that we actually know are going to cringe. So we try to avoid that and just keep it real to us and authentic to us. Also that comes when you're going through the actual deal process of accepting the deal. You think before, okay, can I make something that's going to make sense for my brand, or is all my
nice.
followers just going to be confused at why I'm posting this product? So
Yeah,
I really like being able to offer people the ski bike content because it's pretty unique. I mean, it's so simple for us to go out and do a backflip on skis, but to the average person when they're watching that, that's so eye-catching and so much different for a brand that is just in the fitness space or in the food space. It's so much different and more unique for them to have that opportunity to have their product placed in that scenario, which is a really unique opportunity for us because, like I said, we're always doing action sports, whether it's skiing, biking, surfing, dirt biking, snowmobiling, everything.
yeah.
We do all of it, and it's kind of just stuff we do day to day. So taking out a product and trying to figure out how to incorporate it keeps things fun and exciting for us, and then hopefully fun and exciting for the brand too.
Awesome. Now tell me, I know that we do a lot with you on Instagram, but there are so many new platforms and it's quite hard for you to decide where do you go, you're going to build a following. Have you gone to lots of different platforms and how do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely tried, especially in the last, I'd say 16 to 18 months, we tried to make a pretty big TikTok push. It's kind of nice because all of our content can kind of just go from platform to platform, and it doesn't really take much effort to make a reel on Instagram that we're going to post anyway, and then
Yeah,
just share it over to TikTok with a different song. That's really been the only thing is I'd say 5 years ago, pretty much the only thing we would do is post on Instagram and then post on, there's a ski website called New Schoolers. That's kind of our actual community. So whenever we make a real like longer term content, goes on New Schoolers and a little teaser would go on Instagram. And that was kind of where we were at 5 years ago. But now with TikTok, a couple buddies of mine are getting pretty big in Twitter. They've tried Reddit. They've tried the Snapchat. Um, I forget what the Snapchat one's called, but they've tried the Snapchat one. A couple people have tried YouTube Shorts, and it's kind of just a matter of where you can get your traction and adapting that content so it can be used across all platforms rather than just on your Instagram feed post. So if
yeah,
that just means cropping it 9:16 rather than 4:5 and using a song that can go from platform to platform, that's really the only adaptation we've done, but definitely trying to expand your reach on platforms. And then also like the biggest one that goes pretty like under the radar and forgotten nowadays is how important it actually is to be face to face with people still. Like instead of just social media, like really when you're at a ski event or when you're at any of your events, really for anyone that's watching, just you don't know who you're talking to and you don't know how important that person is. So always just try to be as friendly as you can, like represent yourself the best way you can because like like I could bump into you on the street and not know that I'm talking to the CEO of Open Sponsorship. So it's always just a matter of sticking true to your brand and just being true to yourself. Like don't be unauthentic. Don't be buttering people up in person and then actually not be like that at all. Just be yourself
love
and
that.
you never know who you're talking to. That's how a lot of our relationships in the ski world and bike world have been built. We'll just be at an event talking or someone sees you ski and they come up and talk to you to see if you're a good person and then they're like, "Hey, what's your email?"
Yeah, let's do it.
And kind of just snowballs from there. So it's been really fun.
Awesome. And so changing gears a bit. So obviously Winter Olympics around the corner. Congrats to your girlfriend for making it in.
Yeah,
Um,
thanks.
Tell us about, you know, obviously for sponsors, they want to align with the athletes during the Super Bowl, during the Winter Olympics, right? But that's also quite stressful for the athlete. Like that's the time that they don't want to be thinking about anything else other than the games. How do you, combat this idea that like you are obviously like that, this is the time that you want to focus on the play, but
Mhm.
you could be making 3, 5x your money if you do a sponsorship deal at that time.
Yeah, it's definitely a hard balance. Like we discussed a little bit, it's always trying to figure out the easiest. Like obviously, you want to go out and perform in your sport. That's number one, and that's always the most important. So figuring out the next step of okay, how can I monetize this without adding too much stress and definitely without distracting because what my girlfriend's a speed skier, she's an alpine speed skier, so she's going 70, 80, 90 miles an hour down the mountain. If you have a lapse of your brain for literally a tenth of a second, like that's I don't mean to be blunt, but that's actually like can be life or death, you know? Um, trying to figure out yeah, no problem. So trying to figure out how to do these deals without having any distraction is huge. And that's one thing that open sponsorship has made a lot easier for us is all the complications and all the banter that goes back and forth with emails and negotiations and actually explaining why you'd be useful to the brand and then sending over all your analytics, all that type of stuff. It's it's actually just taken down to a 2, 3 click process for us. And that has been a huge difference because, okay, I see a brand I like, I send over, here's my stuff, they see my analytics, and then they can decide whether they want to work together. So that's been a huge, huge help. And going to the Olympics, I think this one's going to be really interesting because I think a lot of the brand deals in our industries are going to be before and after because of where the Olympics are taking place. Um, we're actually told to, or like everyone's told to either one, take a burner phone or leave your phones at home. Um,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. So I think you're going to see a different Olympic stage than we've seen before. And I think you're actually going to see a lot less saturated media while the games are
Right.
going on. It's going to be the NBC, ABC, all that classic stuff. But I think a lot of the deals you're going to see because of the dynamic of where the games are taking place are going to be before and after, which will keep things really, I guess, simpler for the athletes in a way, because while they're there, they don't have to worry about posting their post for Target
Mm.
or posting their post for Laird Superfood or any of these things, you know? So I think it's going to be through the teams, kind of the set team sponsors, but even then, like all the brand sponsorships on the helmet, even so I ski for a company called POC, and their logo is usually like this big on the side of your head, but now it has to be shrunken down to something like the size of this little black spot on my hat. It has to be super tiny. And then all the ski companies make different skis with smaller logos, and they really try to keep it about the games at the Olympics rather than
Mm.
about athletes monetizing and making money. So especially when it comes to World Cups, X Games, Dew Tour, all these other events where it's really a TV show and an opportunity for us to monetize and do better. I think the games, the most important part is doing your best, trying to get a really, really life-changing result and capitalizing on that before or after the games or in interviews. That's the one thing my girlfriend and
Yeah.
I have been talking about is, okay, if you get that one opportunity to be interviewed on international global stage on TV, like what are you going to say? And not just choking up and being like, oh, thank you, happy to be here. Like make a moment, you know, make something that's going to be interesting for the world and it's going to make people remember you.
You're gunning for her to give you a shout out on TV,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. Maybe she'll give me a shout out, but yeah, I don't know. Hope we'll try to figure out something funny for her to say on TV or something that's just gonna make her like a household name. Hopefully, that's what we're going for. Like for everybody, you know. Like I think that's what everybody's got to do. Don't just be another person being interviewed on camera. Try to be memorable.
Yeah, no, love that. And then, so, there's obviously so many buckets of influencer. There's the LeBron James macro, and then, we've talked about NIL, people with less than 1,000 followers. How do you see the universe there, and why do you think brands should work with different buckets? Like, um, you could talk about engagement or you could talk about reach. What are your thoughts when it comes to if a brand's like, well, Brian, you're great. You've got, 15,000 followers on Instagram, but I could work with
Hmm.
someone who has like over 100,000 and, they'll be cheaper because they're not an athlete or something
Hmm.
else.
Okay, yeah. So I think that's always the constant dilemma that we're dealing with when we talk to brands outside of open sponsorship. That's like, again, another thing, more not sounding like I'm just praising here, but that's another thing that's helped us a lot is like you guys have kind of put a value on us. And as we do more projects for you, that value either increases or decreases based on the analytics. But that's been the really hard part, especially before open sponsorship. I think I would talk to brands and they'd be like, okay, you have 11,000 followers or 10,000 followers at the time. Why would we work with you rather than work with another skier who has, yeah, more followers, like you said? And um, really, I think it comes down to the authenticity and the actual engagement and loyalty of the followers. Obviously, LeBron James is like, he's priceless. People like him are in their own aspect, like in their own world of influencers. LeBron James, Jorge Masvidal. I saw he was on your guys' list last year. All those guys are kind of priceless on their own. But in terms of the micro, macro influencers, I really think our audiences are on a pretty personal level. And a lot of the time, the DMs we get aren't too saturated. Like I'm not getting too many DMs a day that I can't read them. So trying to respond to everybody, staying authentic when someone goes, "Oh, do you like that product?" Like sending back
Love that.
an actual little bit of, "Yeah, I love this product. I actually went out and went ice skating today and used it and it made a difference in my day." Rather than when someone sees a mega influencer post, like obviously, yeah, it's great, but you kind of expect it at that point. And then if you send them a DM, they're not going to respond and actually build your company for you. It's
Love
kind of
that.
just the face to the brand rather than authentic words and authentic opinions behind the product and behind the brand. That's one thing that I've tried to do is really stick with working with brands that I actually like the product so that I'm not lying to people when they message me and they go, "Hey, how is this?" And I say, "It's awesome." And I want to mean it. I don't want to just be saying it to say it. And then one thing I actually noticed Nate in the chat, just sorry to rewind, but Nate did bring up a good point. You actually can't tag your sponsors at the Olympics. So
Mm,
that's one thing kind of along the same lines that I was talking about where it's like do your best, perform, do your sport, interview moments one, and then two, like try to get that podium result so then you can monetize for the rest of your life. Hey, I am so and so and I did this at the event.
yeah.
But yeah, really the Olympic Games try to keep it pure to sport, which is cool. And then also because of China this year, it'll be a little
Yeah.
bit tougher just with media restrictions and stuff. But I think it'll be a great games for everybody.
Cool. Awesome. And then shout out from our side to Nate as well. We love what you guys do as a entourage over there as a group.
Yeah, yeah,
Cool.
Nate's awesome.
Cool. So last few seconds, are there any categories that you are would love to be working with in 2022? Good for the listeners to hear and good for my team to hear as well.
Yeah, I love all the outdoor sports, like kind of the health space, keeping our bodies performing at the optimal levels is really huge for us in our sports. Like we're doing some of the most high impact and kind of gnarly, dangerous sports out there, and really just trying to keep our bodies functioning at the optimal levels, whether that's supplements or recovery products or um, anything in that space. And then, of course, anything that would look good with someone doing a backflip with it in their
Yeah.
hand or doing something crazy or eye catching. I don't know. We're always going for that viral moment of like the wow, you know. So anything that would fit into that space or anything that you want to try to fit into that space, we're happy to make it work. Like I said, my girlfriend Bella Wright, she's the Olympic downhill skier, and then Nate Maselli, he basically does the same exact things I do, and we grew up with cameras in our hands trying to film ourselves skiing and stuff because that's how we would promote it and get sponsors in our industry. So we decided to use those skills with the cameras to just hopefully monetize and do some more stuff outside the brand. And also one thing too, we're always happy to do stuff whether even if you don't want to necessarily work with us as influencers. we've done a lot of just brand photography and product stuff outside the space because of the resumes and portfolios we've built with brands just by doing stuff through open sponsorship. We have like a great portfolio to then send to other people and say, here, like we'll do ghost work for you, or we'll do like, even if we're not posting the photos, we're happy to go out and shoot with them, do crazy things with them, and just send the products over for branding or marketing purposes.
Cool. Awesome. Love it. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, Ryan. Thanks for educating us on the do's and don'ts of the Olympics and everything else. And
Yeah.
I hope you continue to crush it on our platform and keep going to amazing competitions, get better. I hope your hand gets better soon. And yeah, we'll
Yeah.
hang out soon.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me on, and love to do it soon. Talk to you soon. Thank you.
All right. Thanks all for listening. Bye.